heavy storm raged outside the small Alliance shelter that stood on the rocky border of Lathra, a distant alien world known for its shimmering skies. Inside the shelter, a human explorer named Captain Elias Ward tried to fix a broken transmitter. His hands were rough from years of work, and his uniform was torn, showing signs of the struggle that had brought him there, the sound of thunder mixed with the metallic hum of alien machinery. He was stranded, but he was not alone. Across the room on a bed of glowing medical fabric lay Siren of Lathra, an alien ambassador with pale blue skin that shimmered like moonlight. She had been rescued by Elias just hours earlier, when her transport crashed near the ridge. Her people rarely trusted humans, believing them to be impulsive and unpredictable, but Elias had risked his own life to pull her from the wreckage. Now, as she looked at him with her silver eyes, there was confusion and curiosity in her expression. Elias noticed her watching him. "You're safe now," he said quietly, his voice low but steady. "The storm will end by morning." Siren's voice was soft and melodic when she answered. "You stayed behind for me. Humans do not usually risk themselves for others outside their kind." Elias smiled faintly. "Maybe not all humans," he said. "But I couldn't just leave someone to die. Doesn't matter what species you are." The alien blinked slowly as if trying to understand his logic. Her people lived by reason and cold diplomacy. Emotions were seen as weakness. Yet this man spoke as if compassion was as natural as breathing. The small shelter was dim, lit only by the flicker of a broken energy core. The air was heavy with the scent of dust and ozone. Elias sat near the door, wrapping a thermal blanket around his shoulders while Siren tried to stay awake. She was weak, her breathing uneven, her body glowing faintly in rhythm with her pulse. Elias stood and walked to her side. "You need water," he said. He helped her sit up carefully, his hand steady beneath her back. The touch startled her. Lathrans rarely touched anyone, even among their own people. Yet his hand felt warm, grounding, and strangely comforting. For the first time in her life, Siren didn't pull away. Instead, she whispered, "Why do you help when it gains you nothing?" Elias looked at her for a long moment. "Because helping someone feels right. That's enough for me." The storm howled louder, shaking the metal walls. A flash of blue lightning filled the room. Siren's glowing veins pulsed in time with the light. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Your people are strange, Elias Ward." He gave a quiet laugh. "You have no idea," he said. "But we're trying to be better. Always have been." Hours passed. They spoke in fragments about their worlds, their beliefs, their loneliness. Serene told him how Lathrans communicated through thought and energy, not voice, and how emotions were seen as distractions from logic. Elias told her about Earth, about oceans and sunsets, about laughter and mistakes. She listened as if every word were a new color she had never seen before. When she asked him, "Why do humans cry?" he paused for a long time before answering. "Because sometimes when something hurts too much or feels too beautiful, we can't hold it inside." Serene turned her head, her silver eyes soft. "That is strange, but maybe beautiful too." The night deepened. The storm still roared, but the shelter felt warmer now. Elias sat closer to her bed just in case the power went out again. Siren's body flickered with soft light, her breathing steadier. She watched him silently, studying the lines on his face, the way he looked tired yet peaceful. "Do you ever feel alone?" she asked suddenly. Elias nodded without hesitation. "All the time," he admitted. "But sometimes when you meet the right person, even a stranger, it doesn't feel so heavy anymore." Siren tilted her head, thinking about that. The air between them was quiet but full, like a moment that didn't need words. When the power flickered off again, darkness surrounded them. Serene shivered slightly, unused to cold. Without thinking, Elias removed his blanket and placed it around her. She tried to protest, but he said, "You need it more." Their eyes met again, and for a moment neither spoke. It wasn't love, not yet. Just understanding, something rare and delicate. By the time the storm faded, dawn light slipped through the cracks of the shelter walls. The world outside was silent again. Elias repaired the transmitter and sent a beacon to the Alliance base. Soon help would come. Serene tried to stand but stumbled slightly. He caught her before she fell. For a moment her hands pressed against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. It was strong, alive, real. She looked up at him, her eyes bright. "Your heart," she whispered, "is loud." He smiled softly. "That's humanity for you. Loud hearts." When the rescue craft finally arrived, Seren stepped away reluctantly. "We will meet again, Elias Ward," she said in her calm tone, though her voice trembled slightly. He gave a nod, unsure if they ever would. "Take care of yourself, Ambassador." The healer avoided her eyes, choosing silence. At night, Seren sat alone in her quarters, unable to meditate. She pressed her hand to her chest and felt her heart beating faster than usual. Her people were calm, logical and detached, yet now emotions rose inside her like tides she could not control. She remembered the human's voice, Elias's calm tone when he said, "Because helping someone feels right." The echo of those words stirred something inside her that no Lathran science could measure. Her dreams were strange. She saw Earth's skies, its oceans, its stars that seemed closer than they should be. She saw Elias standing in the rain, calling her name. When she woke, the pulse in her body glowed faint gold again. She tried to dismiss it as imagination, but deep down she felt connected to him in some invisible way. In the great hall, her mother, the Queen of Lathra, watched her with careful eyes. "You are restless," the Queen said. Her voice was elegant and firm. "Your light flickers as though you are torn between two worlds." Seren bowed her head respectfully. "Something has changed within me, Mother. I do not understand it." The Queen studied her glowing hands and frowned slightly. "You shared shelter with a human, did you not?" "Yes," Seren admitted softly. "He saved me," the Queen's tone sharpened. "Humans are unpredictable. Their kind burns bright but fades quickly. You must be cautious with their energy. It can infect." Seren looked up, startled. "Infect? You speak as if compassion were a disease." The Queen's expression softened just a little. "It is not compassion I fear, child. It is what lies beyond understanding." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Elias Ward stood on the deck of a human starship preparing for departure. The storm mission report was done, but his thoughts kept returning to that night. He couldn't explain why. Sometimes, in moments of silence, he thought he heard her voice faintly, like a soft whisper in the back of his mind. He would shake his head, thinking it was only exhaustion. But then came the message. It arrived through a private encrypted channel, bearing the crest of the Alliance Medical Council. The text read, "Captain Elias Ward, your recent contact with Lathran Ambassador Seren has resulted in an unexpected biological resonance. Her condition is unstable. Your presence is requested for examination." Elias stared at the screen, disbelief washing over him. "Biological resonance?" he muttered. "That makes no sense." But his gut told him it was serious. He tried to ignore it at first, following orders to return to base. But that night he couldn't sleep. Something deep inside urged him to go. He remembered the fear in her eyes when the storm howled, the way her glowing veins had matched the lightning outside, and the way she had looked back at him when leaving. It didn't feel finished. Ignoring direct protocol, Elias rerouted his small transport toward Lathra. The journey took 3 cycles, and during that time the strange whisper in his mind grew stronger. Sometimes he thought he heard her voice calling his name softly, almost like a memory that refused to fade. He clenched his fists around the controls and whispered, "Hang on, Seren, I'm coming." On Lathra, Seren's condition worsened. Her energy waves fluctuated dangerously, making her body emit light that lit entire corridors. The healers grew nervous. "Her resonance is blending with something foreign," one said quietly. "It carries human pattern markers." Another whispered, "Impossible. Their biology is incompatible." But the evidence glowed right before them. Seren sat weakly in her chamber as the healers argued. Her mind was filled with images she couldn't understand. Human landscapes, ocean waves, a heartbeat echoing in her thoughts. When she closed her eyes, she saw Elias again. She whispered his name without realizing it, and the energy around her pulsed brighter. The Queen entered, her calm face now shadowed with concern. "Seren," she said, "your glow has grown unstable. The Council fears contamination." Seren looked at her mother, pain clear in her voice. "It's not contamination, Mother. It feels alive. It feels like connection." The Queen shook her head. "You sound like a human now." Seren rose weakly to her feet. "Perhaps that's not a bad thing." At that same moment in the human ship descending through Lathra's atmosphere, Elias stared out the window as the glowing city came into view. His heart pounded with both fear and wonder. He didn't know what he would say to her, or how he would even be received. But something told him that whatever was happening to her, it was not just science. It was something that tied them together beyond logic. The ship landed quietly on the outskirts of the capital, and before the guards could even question his presence, Elias stepped out, his voice firm but respectful. "I'm here to see Ambassador Seren," he said. The guards exchanged uncertain glances, but the energy sensors around them began to react strangely. The gold pulse from Seren's chamber synced with the rhythm of Elias's heart. Far away, Seren gasped as her light brightened suddenly. She could feel him nearby. Her voice trembled as she whispered to herself, "He's here." For the first time in her life, she didn't know whether to fear or welcome what was coming next. All she knew was that her heart was no longer her own. It beat in time with a human's. The council chamber of Lathra was filled with light and silence. The tall crystal walls glowed with a pale blue shimmer, and in the center stood Seren, her body glowing softly with golden light that didn't belong to her kind. Around her, the High Council of Lathra gathered in a wide circle, their faces calm but uneasy. On the highest seat sat her mother, the Queen, elegant, cold, and commanding. Before anyone could speak, the sound of human boots echoed in the great hall. Captain Elias Ward was escorted inside by 2 Lathran guards, his uniform dusty from travel but his posture steady. He looked around, realizing how alien this place truly was. The ceiling stretched higher than any human structure, and the air shimmered faintly with the planet's energy. But his eyes found Seren immediately. Her glowing form stood apart from the others, fragile yet radiant. Serene's expression softened when she saw him. "You came," she whispered. Elias gave a small nod. "I had to." The Queen's gaze turned sharp. "Human," she said in a calm but cutting tone. "You stand in the court of Lathra. Do you know why you have been called here?" Elias kept his voice steady. "Because something happened to Seren after the storm. And I need to know why." The Queen rose slowly from her throne. "Indeed, something unnatural has happened. My daughter's body carries a resonance not of this world. Our healers have detected human molecular patterns within her energy field." "You will explain this." Elias froze for a moment. "Human patterns?" he repeated, confused. "That's impossible." The council members murmured among themselves. One of them said, "Impossible, yet proven. Her life force has altered. She glows with the energy of emotion, a trait humans display far too easily." Seren stepped forward, her voice calm but trembling. "He did nothing wrong. He only saved my life." The Queen's voice softened slightly. "We do not accuse him of harm, child. We seek understanding, but what we witness cannot be ignored. Lathran and human essence do not merge. Yet within you, something has joined them." Elias took a slow breath and said, "Your Majesty, when we were trapped in that shelter, I treated her wounds, gave her water, kept her warm. That's all. There was no—" He stopped himself, realizing how strange this sounded in their language. "There was no violation, no experiment, no exchange of blood. Only trust." The Queen studied his face carefully. "Trust," she repeated. "A fragile word among humans." She turned toward Seren. "And you? What did you feel during that night?" The question startled Seren. Her kind did not often speak of feelings. She hesitated, then whispered, "I felt safe. I felt warmth." His heart, it was loud. It changed something inside me. A wave of soft whispers filled the room. The council members leaned forward, intrigued and disturbed. One elder murmured, "Emotional resonance. It can reshape energy if strong enough." Another said, "It has never crossed between species." Elias watched as Seren's hands began to glow brighter. The gold light pulsed gently, forming patterns that floated in the air like soft ribbons. He stepped forward, his instinct to protect her taking over. The guards moved quickly, blocking his path, but Seren raised her hand weakly. "Let him," she said. The Queen nodded, allowing it. When Elias reached her, the air around them shimmered faintly. A hum filled the chamber, soft but powerful. The council gasped as instruments flickered with new readings. The gold light from Seren's body began to match the rhythm of Elias's heartbeat. The connection between them was real, alive, and visible to all. The Queen looked down, both awed and fearful. "What is this bond?" she asked quietly. Seren closed her eyes, her voice shaking as she spoke. "It began that night. When I was afraid, he reached out, not with power, not with control, but with care. Our energies touched. I thought it was nothing, but it never faded." Elias looked around at the glowing chamber and said softly, Maybe it's not a sickness. Maybe it's something new. Something both of us created without meaning to. The Queen turned to her council. A hybrid connection. Half human, half Lathran. Her eyes darkened with thought. Such a link could threaten the balance of both worlds. Our people have always avoided emotional bonds with outsiders. This changes everything. Serene's voice rose, filled with quiet determination. It changes nothing wrong, Mother. It only proves that emotions are not weakness. They can heal. They can unite. The Queen looked at her daughter for a long moment, torn between fear and pride. You speak like a human, she said. Serene lifted her chin. Perhaps that is what I have become, a bridge between two hearts. The council fell silent again. Some elders nodded slowly, others shook their heads. The Queen finally spoke, her voice calm but heavy. You will be studied, Serene. Your connection with this man must be understood before it spreads or harms you. As for you, Captain Ward, you will remain under observation until this mystery is solved. Elias looked at Serene, his eyes steady. If that's what it takes to help her, I'll stay. The Queen gave a small nod and gestured for the guards to escort him. But before he turned to leave, Serene reached out and touched his hand. A spark of golden light flickered where their skin met and the hum in the air deepened. Every sensor in the room reacted instantly. The Queen whispered almost to herself, such power from a single touch. As the guards led Elias away, Serene watched him go, her heart heavy but full of strange calm. Deep inside her, the golden pulse moved again, steady and alive. It was not pain, not sickness, but something growing, something new. She placed her hand over her chest and felt the warmth spread through her body. She didn't know what it meant yet, but she could feel that her story with the human was far from over. Something inside her had chosen him, and there was no way to turn back now. The night air ate energy. I did not think such a thing was possible. Elias frowned. Emotion made? Varen nodded slowly. Our energy forms reflect the mind, but yours, human, seems to feed it. When she feels your emotion, her body responds physically. It grows stronger. Serene turned to Elias, her voice soft. Then it is not sickness. It is connection. Elias looked at her and nodded. Guess we're linked whether we understand it or not. The golden light around Serene's body flickered brighter, and the reading spiked again. Varen looked amazed but worried. This bond could change both your energies permanently. You must be careful. Later that evening, after the scientists ended their experiments, Serene and Elias were allowed to walk in the crystal gardens. The gardens glowed faintly under the twin moons, filled with glass-like flowers that sang quietly when touched by the wind. They walked slowly, silent for a while until Serene finally spoke. When I close my eyes, I hear your thoughts. Not words, but feelings. Is that how humans communicate? Elias shook his head. No, not like that. We talk with words. Feelings usually stay hidden. Why hide them? She asked gently. They are beautiful. He smiled a little. Because they make us vulnerable, and humans don't like being seen as weak. Serene stopped walking and looked at him, her silver eyes glowing softly. You are not weak, Elias Ward. You are the strongest being I have met. Not because you fight, but because you feel. He didn't know what to say. For a long moment, the air between them was filled only with the sound of the singing flowers. The glow from her body reflected in his eyes, and he realized how alive she looked, half alien, half something new. Back in the palace, the Queen watched them from the high balcony, her expression unreadable. Varen stood beside her, holding a tablet filled with data. Their energies are merging, he said quietly. If it continues, the ambassador will no longer be purely Lathran. The Queen's eyes darkened slightly. And the human? He will carry traces of her resonance too. They are becoming two halves of the same pattern. The Queen turned away from the window, her voice low and thoughtful. If this continues, it could unite our species or destroy them both. As days passed, Serene and Elias's connection deepened. Sometimes she would faintly feel his heartbeat across the palace. He in return could sense when she was afraid. When she smiled, warmth spread through him. It was as if the universe had tied them with invisible threads. One night, while they were both asleep in separate rooms, something extraordinary happened. Serene's glow brightened to a golden storm, filling her chamber with radiant light. At the same time, Elias awoke gasping, his chest burning with the same golden pulse. The guards rushed to her room, but when they opened the door, the light faded, and Serene was standing calmly, unharmed, her eyes bright with tears. When the queen arrived, Seren whispered, "He felt it too, didn't he?" The queen said nothing, but she already knew the answer. The next morning, Seren was summoned before the council again. This time Elias was beside her. The elders observed quietly as Seren spoke with confidence. "I'm no longer only Lathran," she said. "Something inside me carries human strength and emotion. But it does not weaken me, it completes me." Elias looked around the chamber, meeting every stare without fear. "Maybe that's what we've both been missing," he said. "A piece of each other." The queen remained silent for a long time, then finally spoke. "This connection of yours may shape the future of two worlds. If it is a blessing, it will unite us. But if it is a curse—" She didn't finish the sentence. Seren raised her head and said softly, "It is neither. It is life." That night, as the palace quieted, Seren stood on her balcony watching the stars. She could feel Elias's steady heartbeat echoing faintly inside her chest. Somewhere deep within, the golden pulse stirred again, gentle, warm, and alive. She placed her hand over her heart and whispered into the silent air, "Whatever this is, it will change everything." And far away in his chamber, Elias opened his eyes at the same moment and whispered her name, not knowing she had spoken his too. The days on Lathra passed slowly, filled with questions no one could answer. Seren's body had grown brighter, her golden glow spreading beyond her chest to her arms and face. The healers said her energy pattern was evolving faster than their instruments could record. When she walked through the palace halls, light followed her like a quiet sunrise. Yet she did not feel pain, she felt alive. Every morning she woke with the same strange warmth in her heart, as if another heartbeat moved inside her. It wasn't human or Lathran, it was something between. At night, when she closed her eyes, she could sense Elias's emotions as clearly as her own. He no longer needed to speak for her to understand what he felt. His courage, his calm, his silent worry, they reached her through that invisible bond. One evening, the queen summoned Seren to the throne room. The walls shimmered with cold blue light and the queen's face looked more serious than ever. "Your condition is no longer stable," she said. "Your energy has reached a point our healers cannot predict. We need to contain it." Seren stood tall. "Contain it? It is not sickness, Mother. It is creation." The queen's gaze hardened. "Creation from what? From emotion? From chaos? If this spreads, it could destroy the balance of our kind." Before Seren could reply, a guard entered the hall, bowing quickly. "Your Majesty, there is a disturbance outside the city. A faction from the outer realms demands to see you. They say the human has corrupted the royal bloodline." The queen's eyes darkened. "So it begins," she whispered. Outside, beyond the glowing city towers, ships from the outer realms had arrived, sharp, dark vessels filled with those who still hated humans. Their leader, Lord Talrian, stepped forward, his tone cold. "Your daughter's light is unnatural," he said. "The council must destroy the human link before it infects others." Elias was brought into the chamber under guard. He met Seren's eyes across the distance. She could feel his heartbeat again, steady but angry. "What are they talking about?" he asked. Seren's voice trembled as she spoke. "They think our connection is dangerous. They don't honor Majesty, this is no sickness. Her energy is forming a new core, a life form of pure resonance. It's not human or Lathran, it's both." The queen stepped closer, her face filled with shock. "You mean?" Varen nodded slowly. "A child of two energies. Something the universe has never seen." The hall erupted into whispers and panic. Some shouted that it was impossible. Others called it a miracle. But through the noise, Seren looked up at Elias with tears in her glowing eyes. "You feel it too, don't you?" He placed his hand over his chest and nodded. "Yes, it feels like hope." The queen raised her hand for silence. Her voice was calm but trembling. "If this is true, then what stands before us is not corruption but evolution," Lord Talrian snarled. "Evolution? You would allow such a thing? This child, this mix of emotion and energy could destroy our order." Elias turned toward him, his tone cold but steady. "Or maybe it could save it." The queen looked at the golden light spreading through the floor and sighed deeply. "Whether we wish it or not, it already exists." Guards rushed to surround Seren and Elias, but the queen lifted her hand to stop them. "No harm will come to them," she said. "Not while I see light instead of darkness." That night, Seren rested in her chamber, the glow inside her calm but steady. Elias stayed nearby, unable to leave. Through the silence, she spoke softly. Do you think they'll ever accept it? He looked at her, his voice quiet. Maybe not now. But one day they'll see it's not something to fear. She smiled faintly. A life born from two hearts, not from war or power. He nodded. That's how change begins. As she drifted to sleep, her glow softened. Elias watched her with quiet awe. He had faced many battles in his life, but none like this. None that touched the soul instead of the body. He didn't know what the future would bring, but he knew one thing for certain. He would protect her and whatever life had awakened inside her, no matter what it cost. Outside, the twin moons rose above the silver city, and the golden light of Siren's chamber reached into the night sky, shining brighter than any star. Those who saw it from afar whispered in wonder. Some called it dangerous, some called it divine. But for Elias, it was simply proof that even in the darkest corners of the galaxy, something pure could still be born, something made of trust, compassion, and the smallest act of human kindness. The following days were filled with both wonder and fear. Siren's glow no longer came and went. It stayed, a soft golden aura that lit every room she entered. The healers and scientists watched her constantly, their devices recording patterns they had never seen before. Even the queen, who once hid her emotions, found herself standing quietly at her daughter's bedside, unsure whether to feel pride or worry. Elias remained close, allowed to move freely through the palace, but always under watch. He didn't care. His only concern was Siren. Every time he saw her, he noticed how her light had changed, how it no longer looked like simple energy but something alive, breathing, pulsing gently with rhythm like a heartbeat. Sometimes when she placed her hand on her chest, he could almost hear it too, echoing softly inside his own body. Late one evening, the queen called a private meeting in her inner chamber. Only a few elders attended, Varen, the scientist, and a few trusted advisors. Serene sat quietly beside Elias as her mother spoke. We are at a crossroads, the queen said. If this energy is truly creating life, it could unite our two worlds or bring war between them. Varen nodded. We have studied the readings carefully. What grows inside the ambassador is not dangerous. It is balanced. Its energy matches both human and Lathran frequencies. It reacts to emotion, specifically harmony. Elias frowned slightly. So, as long as we stay calm, it grows stronger? Yes, Varen said. It feeds on peace, on empathy. But if you both feel fear or anger, it weakens. It mirrors your hearts. Serene looked at her mother, her voice soft. Then perhaps this is the universe's message to teach us peace. The queen did not answer right away. She stood and walked toward the tall window that looked out over the glowing city. The towers of Lathra shimmered beneath the twin moons. After a long silence, she said, I wish to believe that, my child. But there are those who will see this as a threat. And she was right. Far from the capital, in the cold regions of the outer realms, ships began to gather. Lord Talrian had returned to his followers with anger in his heart. The queen has lost her mind, he told them. She protects the human who broke our laws. The child they have created must not live. The Council of Extremists agreed. Within days, they began their march toward the city. Back in the palace, Saren woke suddenly in the night. She felt a strange pressure in her chest, a warning. The golden light within her flickered. She gasped and whispered, Elias. He rushed into her chamber, finding her standing at the balcony, her eyes wide. What's wrong? He asked quickly. They're coming, she said. The outer realms. I can feel their hatred like a storm. Before he could respond, alarms echoed through the city. The queen's guards ran through the halls, shouting orders. Outside, ships began to appear in the dark sky, rows of glowing red vessels descending fast. The queen entered the room, her expression calm but fierce. They mean to destroy what they fear, she said. You must both leave the city now. Elias shook his head. I'm not running, the queen looked at him sharply. This is not cowardice. If they capture you, they will use you as proof of corruption. I cannot protect both of you from their hatred. Serene placed her hand on her mother's arm. Come with us, she whispered. But the queen only smiled faintly. A queen must stand with her people. Go, keep the child safe. Moments later, Seren and Elias fled the city under the cover of darkness. The queen's loyal guards guided them through hidden tunnels beneath the palace that opened into the wide plains beyond. The world outside was quiet, filled with crystal trees and shining rivers. The two of them rode on a small hovercraft heading toward the distant mountains. For hours they traveled in silence until at last they reached a hidden valley filled with glowing stones. The air there was calm and filled with warmth. Elias set up a small campfire using human gear, and Seren sat beside him, her glow blending with the golden flames. "Do you think your mother will be safe?" Elias asked softly. Seren looked at the stars, her eyes filled with sadness. "She is stronger than she appears, but I fear this war may break everything we've built." Elias nodded slowly. "Then we'll have to end it before it starts." She turned to him, confused. "How?" He placed his hand gently over her glowing chest. "By showing them what this really means. Not a weapon, not a curse, but a life worth protecting." The glow beneath his hand pulsed brighter, as if agreeing. Seren smiled faintly through her tears. "You always speak with hope," she said. "It's the only thing I know how to hold on to," he replied quietly. At dawn, they saw ships appear in the sky again, this time smaller, faster. The rebels had tracked them. Seren stood beside Elias, her golden aura rising like a shield. "I won't let them hurt you," she said. "And I won't let them take you," he answered. When the first blast struck the ground near them, Seren raised her arms. Her light exploded outward, forming a barrier of shimmering gold that covered the valley. The blast waves turned to harmless sparks upon touching it. The rebels stared from above, their weapons useless. Inside the glowing shield, Elias looked at her in awe. "Serene, you're controlling it." She shook her head. "No, we are. It listens to both of us." Together they stood hand in hand, their combined energy spreading through the valley like dawn breaking through the night. For the first time, Lathran and human energy fused in harmony, calm, bright, and beautiful. Above them, the attacking ships began to slow. The soldiers on board lowered their weapons as they felt something they had never known before: peace. No command could override it. No hatred could pierce it. The light from below reached them, filling their hearts with quiet stillness. And high above, even the queen saw it from her balcony, the sky glowing gold instead of red. She whispered softly, "My daughter, you have done what no ruler could. You have stopped a war without a single weapon." Down in the valley, Seren leaned weakly against Elias as the light faded. "Did we win?" she whispered. He smiled gently. "I think we just taught the universe a new way to fight." Her glow dimmed to a soft, peaceful shimmer, and for the first time in many nights, she felt no fear. Only calm, only hope. The golden light had faded from the valley, but its memory remained. For 3 days and nights, peace settled over Lathra like gentle rain. The sky, once filled with the red fire of warships, now glowed in soft shades of gold and silver. The queen had ordered a ceasefire across all borders, declaring that no weapon should rise against something born from peace. Yet deep inside the mountains, away from the eyes of both worlds, Seren and Elias remained hidden. They waited not as fugitives but as protectors of the new life growing between them. Serene's glow had softened, no longer blinding but warm and steady. Her body felt light, yet her heart heavy with emotion. Each day, the small sphere of energy within her pulsed brighter, as if aware of the calm outside. Sometimes, when she placed her hand over her chest, she could hear faint sounds, a soft hum almost like a heartbeat echoing within her. Elias often sat nearby, his gaze filled with quiet awe. "It's alive," she said one evening, her voice trembling with wonder. Elias smiled. "I don't need the machines to tell me that. I can feel it too." The small cave they lived in was silent except for the gentle hum of their shared energy. Outside, the valley was blooming again, crystal flowers opening to the warmth of the light they had created. Serene sometimes wondered if the world itself was reacting to their bond. "Do you think the universe watches us?" she asked softly. Elias chuckled. "Maybe, but if it does, I hope it's smiling." He meant it lightly, but Seren turned serious. "My people feared you once. They called humans reckless. Yet it was your kindness that changed everything. I think the universe sent you to us for a reason." Elias shook his head. "I'm no savior. I just did what anyone should, help someone in need." She smiled faintly. "And that simple act might have saved 2 worlds." On the 4th morning, a small ship arrived quietly in the valley. It bore the Queen's insignia. From it stepped Varen, the old scientist, his calm eyes bright with hope. He bowed gently to Seren. "Your Majesty sends her blessings," he said. "She wishes to see you both return. The fighting has ended. The outer realms have surrendered." They saw the light literally and within. Seren's eyes widened. Then peace has come? Varin nodded. For now, yes. But there is more. The Queen believes it is time to reveal the truth, to show the people what has been born through your bond. Elias looked uncertain. Reveal it? Won't they be afraid again? Varin smiled. Perhaps. But fear can only end when truth is seen. That evening, under a calm silver sky, Seren and Elias returned to the capital. The entire city gathered around the central spire where the Queen awaited them. The sight of Seren stepping out of the ship brought silence to the crowd. Her golden light shimmered softly, no longer wild or uncontrolled. The Queen stood before her daughter and placed a hand over her heart. You have done what no ruler or warrior could, she said. You have taught our people that strength does not come from power, but from compassion. Elias bowed his head respectfully. Your Majesty, I never meant to change anything. The Queen smiled faintly. Change often comes from those who do not seek it. The people watched in quiet awe as Serene's glow brightened. Then before their eyes, a soft golden sphere lifted from her chest and floated between them. It pulsed gently, casting light over the crowd. Within that light, shapes began to form. A small figure, neither human nor Lathran, its body translucent and radiant like starlight. Gasps filled the air. The Queen stepped closer, her eyes wide. It lives. The figure floated higher, looking around curiously. Then it turned towards Seren and Elias, reaching out with tiny hands of light. A soft voice echoed in every mind, not words but feelings, peace, warmth, love. The crowd fell to their knees, overwhelmed by the purity of the emotion. Even the hardest warriors felt tears fill their eyes. Elias whispered, It's communicating with them. Seren nodded, tears shining in her silver eyes. It speaks through the heart. The Queen looked at the glowing child and then at her daughter. What will you call it? She asked softly. Seren glanced at Elias, then said, Hope, because that is what it gave us all. The crowd repeated the name in whispers. Hope, hope, hope. The sound carried across the city like music. The golden figure seemed to smile, and its light spread outward, washing over the towers, the skies, the people. Wherever the light touched, peace followed. The Queen looked up, her expression filled with quiet pride. Perhaps this is what the universe wanted all along, a child not of flesh, but of unity. As night fell, the golden glow remained in the sky, hovering like a new star above the city. Serene and Elias stood side by side, watching it. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Do you think it will stay? She asked. He smiled softly. Maybe not here, but everywhere hearts are kind, I think its light will appear. For a long moment they stood in silence, watching the light dance among the clouds. The people below sang softly. Voices joined in peace. The war was over. Two worlds that had once feared each other now looked to the same sky with shared hope. Seren turned to Elias, her eyes gentle. When I first met you, I thought you were strange. He laughed quietly. Most people do, she smiled. But now I understand. Humanity's greatest strength is not its weapons or its science. It's the heart. Elias took her hand and looked up at the golden light. Then let's make sure it never fades. The Queen watched them from the balcony, the starlight reflecting in her eyes. She whispered softly, May the bond between our worlds remain as bright as their child. And high above, the glowing figure of hope drifted through the sky, leaving a trail of light across the stars. A promise that love, born from understanding, could heal even the coldest worlds. From that day forward, the people of Lathra and humanity no longer looked at each other as strangers. They remembered the night the sky turned gold and the lesson it carried forever. The universe changes not through power, but through kindness shared between two hearts.